JJ Tabane. JJ, thank you very much for chatting to us. I think we're all in shock because he seemed to be getting through. And this is what COVID does. It takes people away that we just never imagined we would lose so soon.
Absolutely, Sally. Thank you so much for having me. I'm devastated because I spoke to him last week after I learned that he was positive and said, simply, Minister, please take care of yourself. We still need you. You know, and to which he replied, you know, in his usual jocular fashion, to say, I'm going nowhere. I mean, it's just simply unbelievable to lose somebody like that. But as Jesse Duarte was saying at the earlier press conference, this disease is not discriminating against anybody. Any one of us can go at any point. You know, and that says the sooner we find a solution to it, the sooner the vaccines arrive here, the better. Jackson Mthembu was really one of the outstanding ministers in this cabinet. That he also has shown his mettle as a communicator for years, communicating for the ruling party, as well as his mettle in Parliament, leading the ruling party at a very, very difficult time, where somebody's ethics needed to show. And that's why I believe it's a big loss for the ANC, for the country, for all of us.
And I think it's made more poignant because he was so very much at the forefront of communicating with us about COVID-19. And we became used to him in that particular role, communicating at a very, very difficult time about a pandemic that is quite unpredictable and that there are so many unknowns. I'm wondering how he will best be remembered as a communicator, as a man who was helping us through a very difficult time, or more the politician.
Yeah, look, it's a mixture of both. I mean, he's got a very illustrious political history, not just in Mpumalanga but also in national politics. As he is ahead of the 2012 Mangaung conference, he was the chief communicator of the ANC. You know, at the time that a lot of people were putting a big question mark on the ANC's integrity and ethics, and he was one of those who argued vehemently for the establishment of the Integrity Commission. Forget about, you know, whether it's effective or not, but the idea that something has to give, right, is something that always worried him. Secondly, as a communicator, he's one of the people who, you know, assisted the ANC to do a lot of introspection around how it communicates its message. I remember a couple of years ago, he invited me to speak to members of parliament, the chairpersons of the committees, about how they should be communicating, how they should be getting out of their shells, how they should be, you know, building bridges with journalists, you know, to be able to put the, if you like, the view of the ANC forward. So I think his legacy is mixed in that way. But of course, we'll remember him also for having stood his ground. A lot of people wanted MPs to take a stance, particularly during the Zuma era, and say, this is enough. And so one was not surprised when he was put to be in charge of you know, communications and to be in charge of the presidency, the way that President Ramaphosa made him to be, because in a sense he had shown his hand as wanting a new dawn that everyone is talking about, or a new era, a new way that the ANC should be doing things. So he'll be remembered that way as someone who, during the difficult times, took a stance, because that's the only way you get remembered. You don't get remembered by just being part of the crowd and the head.
Absolutely.
But also when it's difficult to take a stance.
And he took a stance even when it wasn't necessarily popular within the party at that time. I'm thinking in March 27, he stood up for Pravin Gordhan and Presidency Jonas and said, no, these are honourable men, even as they were being fired from cabinet. I'm just wondering what this might mean for the ANC. Obviously, you know, we have seen this afternoon utter shock and devastation from the governing party. But once they start to assimilate what it means for them, you know, this is a loss of a man, as you say, who was very much a driving force behind the ANC trying to reinvent itself and reimagine itself. Is it a blow to that cause for the ANC?
it's yes or no. It's a blow in that we need more people like a Jackson Mthembu, not less, where there is what we call politics of convenience. So people, you know, I mean, at the moment, without digressing too much, we're talking about a situation where people must go into an NEC meeting tomorrow and tell the Secretary General of the ANC to step aside. You know, it's as simple as that, because it's a resolution that Jackson and others fought for in Mangaung, right, to say that if you are embarrassing the movement, step aside. Now we need more people to stand up, and not, you know, people who would go with the blow with the wind and go with convenience, politics of convenience and politics of lack of principle. So I think, in a sense, it will trigger that people should stand up and say, you know, what Jackson and others fought for must not be in vain. So in that way, you know, we need to pick up his spear, so to speak, as they would say in political circles. It's a blow to President Ramaphosa. Ramaphosa, at this point, Sally, needs every help he can get, both in his office and in cabinet, especially in the middle of a pandemic of this nature. So in that way, I want to say that it was not an accident that he happens to be put in charge of the GCIS. You would know the GCIS hasn't had a formal leader or a permanent CEO for years. And once he took over, he fixed that as one of the first top priorities. And you see now that there is a sense in which GCIS is at the heart of making sure that the communication on COVID is head and shoulders above what generally is expected or has been experienced of government communications. They did exceptional work. And if they could carry on the way that they are communicating COVID, by communicating all other things that government is doing, I think we'll see the reputation of government changing quite rapidly.
Well, thank you very much for chatting to us this evening. JJ Tabane, media specialist and course host to Truth to Power here on ENCA.